My Very Last Life, an introspective podcast to accompany the final journey of a 60-year-old man facing death, but not yet finished with life. Not by a long shot. This is my final attempt to make something out of this life that is very close to what I always wanted from it. And this time I'm gonna succeed, or die trying. My name is Eric T. Hansen. I'm an American from Hawaii. I live in Germany, in Berlin, where I write novels and nonfiction in both German and English. Sometimes online I'm known as Grumpy Old Writer. And I've decided to reinvent myself one last time. I can't guarantee that anything I say here will be helpful or interesting or even make sense. Much of this podcast will consist of random observations and self-indulgent rants. You will find no dramatic arc here. But if you have nothing better to do, or if you find yourself in a similar situation, if you're also in the midst of reinventing yourself, then I invite you to accompany me on my final quest. Maybe there's even something we can give each other. Thank you. Chapter 1. The Situation. Grumpy Old Writer here. This is my personal podcast. This is about my very last life. It's the official podcast for Grumpy Old Writer. That's me, Eric Hansen, Eric T. Hansen. And I'm calling it my very last life because it is. I turned 60 recently, this year. And whenever in the past I've hit some kind of birthday like that, like, 30 or 40 or, 50, or 50 was almost killed me for, Jesus. I got more and more depressed, and I had more and more the feeling that, I wasted my life. I haven't done my potential. I'm not where I want to be. And it's true that I'm still not where I want to be, and probably I never will be. It's probably in my nature to be dissatisfied with what I have. But this time it was different. I think it was the closeness of death, the realization that this was it. This was turning 60 is not going to be like turning 70 or 80. Turning 60 is like the last chance to have some kind of, active, normal life, to have some kind of potential, to have some kind of be able to do what you want to do. After this, it really good. You're really old. And you really get close to death, and so this is the last chance. And this last chance deal was like the last chance realization was like a wake up call. Was like a slap in the face. And I realized that I had to get rid of all the the moaning and groaning and the whining and the self pity for growing old. Oh, you and billions of other people have not reached your potential. You have not you haven't done everything you wanted to do in life. You and everyone else, no one has done everything they want to do in life. Everyone's frustrated with life. Everyone, it's part of life, right? It's everyone has to do this. So stop whining about it. And I'm embarrassed to say that it took me really, I had to have the slap in the face of turning 60 to stop whining. My friends told me stop whining. I should have listened to them longer before. I should have listened in general to my friends much more than I have in my life. But this was the thing, and I just, before that I did all kinds of things to try to get out of depression and try to be happy. I try to find the secret to happiness, and I went to therapy about depression, and I tried to get drugs. They wouldn't give me any, but I still kind of regret that. I would have liked to have to try the drugs, but nothing really helped. I was still depressed until I hit 60, and I was still a little bit depressed, but something happened then, and I realized that I have another 20 years. I have a chance, my last chance, to do something with my life, and not to be completely satisfied, and not to be, I don't know, I'm a writer, so my life goal, my life purpose is to be a great writer, to write one. This is how I tell myself, this is how I formulate the purpose of my life, to write one great book. That's what I want to do in my life. And so I still have that chance. But this is the last chance. This is it. You take it seriously now or forget about it. Or everything's just a joke. And then it's just wasted time. The entire life is just wasted. If you look back at 80, if I look back at 80 and I see the same thing that I see now, and especially all the whining and moaning about it, I realize I've just wasted my life. I've wasted a really good life, with all kinds of opportunity, all kinds of potential, all kinds of joy, all kinds of, everything that this world has to offer, and that's a lot. I just wasted it. So I decided I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to be positive about it. I'm going to construct something. I'm going to do something with this last part of my life, this last 20 years. And the thing is, 20 years is a lifetime. It's a long time. It is. If you look back at when you were 20, you didn't think that you would live till 30, right? When you're 20. But if you look back between the time when you were 20 and 40, everything happened during that time. You had love, you had children probably, you had your career, you're set in your life. When you turn 40, you either have a career or you don't. You either have accomplished something or you didn't. Or it's really, that 20 years is a lifetime. The problem is, of course, that, youth is, as they say, youth is wasted on the young. So when you're 20, you maybe imagine that you'll be great, but you don't really do what you have to do to accomplish what you want to accomplish, or you get distracted, or you're stupid, or you make a lot of mistakes and things like this. So you have this advantage of being young, but the disadvantage of being inexperienced. With 60, you have the disadvantage of not being young anymore. It is a disadvantage. I mean, I don't have the energy I did when I'm 20, and I don't have the freshness of, I can't walk into a room and they be, oh, there's a young man with ambition. No one says that. They look at me and they say, oh, yeah, he kind of, he's gone to hell. He's not, and the young girls don't look at me anymore. So there are real advantages to being old, and you just have to accept that because you have to. But the advantages, did I say advantages? Disadvantages. Those are disadvantages to being old. The advantages to being old is that you've seen a lot. You know more than you used to. You have a better overview, a better perspective. You don't take unserious things seriously, or at least not as you used to, and you don't get distracted by nonsense and bullshit. You don't swallow the pill. You don't go down that rabbit hole, or at least you don't have to if you decide not to. You can live your life more consciously if you want to. You can make plans, you can think it through, you can make wiser decisions. You have wisdom, you have experience when you're older. And so that's an advantage. So the disadvantages and the advantages always, whether you're 20 or 60, balance themselves out. And so there's no real difference between being 20 and 60. In both cases, you have 20 years to make something out of your life. It's different now, of course, than what it was when I was 20, but it's still the same thing. I still have a chance now in the next 20 years to make something out of my life. Something. I'm not saying that I didn't make anything. I did make something out of my life. I already did. I am a writer, a published writer. I'm living in Europe. I'm born in America, living in Europe. I always wanted to do that. I'm respected in plenty of circles for the books I've written and am writing and will continue to write. Okay, so I'm not saying that my life is wasted. It's not. But I have a chance here to make another life, a conscious life, which I've never done before. As if I were 20 with the wisdom of a 60-year-old. But then, in order to do that project, and it's a project. I've decided that that's the project of the next 20 years. That's the main project. I'm still going to be doing things like, trying to write that one great book. I'm still going to be, keeping up my relationships and all that. Probably, at least. I'm open to any change, actually. I'm open to big changes. But they don't have to be big changes. What I have to do is find a life that I can live consciously, and I have to fulfill certain points. I've written them down. I'm going to tell you what these points are. Okay? I have to ask myself, if I'm doing this, what is my purpose in this life? in this next 20 years? And that can be anything. It doesn't have to be the purpose that I had before. It can be anything. This is new. It's a new question now. And I have to answer it. No, I haven't answered it yet, but I'm in the process of doing it. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking about it. I'm writing it down, taking notes. So I'm going to answer this question. How am I going to do this? What is necessary? What do I have to change on myself, in my life, in my circumstances? What challenges do I have to, rise to do this? What do I have to know or have or do that I don't know anything about now, that is not on my radar? What new experience, what new goal is going to come into view that I have to do? First of all, my purpose has not changed, really. My purpose has always been to write one great book. I'm a writer. I want to write a great book. I may not succeed. Most writers don't. 99% of writers don't succeed in writing a great book. They get maybe really good, or maybe they even have a great book that only 3 people read. But when I say great book, I want a great book that is kind of generally known. Maybe not James Joyce, but has an effect on a lot of people and is part of the weave of our society. That's still my purpose. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to try to do it more consciously and more with more wisdom than I have before. In fact, my attitude towards writing has changed radically. I'll talk about that later, but it's changed radically. I'm a different writer now than I was a couple months ago. Secondly, I want to be missed when I'm gone. Part of that, writing a great book is part of that. Fame is part of that, or reputation is part of that. I want to be a good obituary in the paper. I want people to say, "Oh, he's like," well, not on the level with David Bowie. And when David Bowie died, I live in Berlin and in Schöneberg in Berlin, which is where David Bowie lived for a couple of years during his drug period, and during when he was most a genius, most fertile genius, and so when he died, there was a great outpouring of grief, even though no one had bought his records for some time, and they laid flowers at this apartment not far from here where I live, where he lived for a while, and there was a shrine with a lot of flowers and candles, and it was beautiful. And I went down and I took pictures and I laid flowers myself, and I kind of said goodbye to him, because he was a genius that really affected a lot of people, and which was unique. And I don't know if I can rise to that. I will not be grieved in the way that David Bowie was, or that some kind of a great politician will be, or a great genius. I'm not that guy, but I want to be missed. I want to put a mark on in the world and be missed to a certain point. And I think that's a valid thing to want for any man or woman. You want to be missed. It seems there's something about it. I think my Protestant upbringing is telling me you can't. That's egotistical. That's egocentrical. That's thinking about yourself. Don't think about yourself. But I think it's natural and normal and even good to want to be missed, because that means that you want to engage with society in some way and do something that is good for society that they will miss. Part of that, of course, is having children, which I've never had, because I am too much of an egocentrical nutcase. So I never had children, and now it's too late. I'm not going to have children. So I can't do that. I'm not going to die, surrounded by my children and grandchildren on my bedside, and they're all weeping. That's not going to happen. But I have to find a way, some way, to be missed. Third, I have to be able to look back and be proud of what I did and who I am. I don't do that now. There's a certain pride. I mean, I took the chance and became a writer. I did what I had to do to become a writer, to follow my dream. I did not compromise my dream. I did not stay home hoping, well, maybe, I could have been a writer. I could have done I could have moved to Europe. I did. I moved to Europe and I became a writer. So I lived my dream. So there's that. So there's a certain amount of pride, but it's not exceptional enough. I don't feel that I have fulfilled my potential. And when I look back now, I'm going to say, okay. I'm not really disappointed. I'm not, I don't hate what I did. In fact, I like what I did. I looking back, I actually love my life more than I hate it. But I'm not proud of it. I want to be proud of what I did and who I am on another level, on a higher level. Okay, so that means I have to work hard and do something and accomplish something. I have to accomplish something in order to reach that point, and it has to be good. Fourth, I need to gain a sense of fulfillment. That's hard to describe or understand what fulfillment is. I mean, what is a fulfilling life? How do you feel fulfilled? A lot of people say it comes with children, but as I said, I can't have that. And I believe them, by the way. I believe that having children, watching them grow, and watching this, this circle of life, as Ellen John said, the circle of life, I think that's fulfilling. But I can't do that. I'm outside that circle now. So I have to find another way. And fulfillment, when I think of fulfillment of life, what is fulfilling? It's that feeling you have like when you've worked hard all day, either at a physical job or when I've written. Even when I've written, if I sit down and write really intensely for 4 hours, 6 hours, 3 hours even, I get up and I feel exhausted. I feel physically exhausted. I feel drained. I feel empty in a way that you only get with drugs. I feel emptied out. And I feel like I put myself on the paper. And I feel like I fulfilled some purpose. That is a sense of fulfillment. It's the feeling that you get up after, you have after a day of hard and successful work. And you feel like you've done what you're meant to do. You have fulfilled your purpose in life. And now you want a beer. That's it. Now you sit down and have a beer and a pizza with a friend. That's the feeling of fulfillment I want. I want at the end of my life to be sitting, I have cancer, I have tubes in my face, and I'm sitting. I want to sit there and say, well, I had a fulfilling life, and I feel like now I could have a beer with a friend and, say cheers and it would be the end of it, and it would be a good ending because it would be fulfilling. I think that's probably the best metaphor for a fulfilling life. Having worked hard, you're exhausted, and you have earned that beer and pizza with a friend in the end. Fifth, I want to feel the urgings of my soul. I grew up a Protestant, a Mormon, it's a very Protestant religion. There's a lot of expectations put on you, what to do, what not to do. You have to be perfect. You have to follow Jesus. You have to be like Jesus, which is impossible, right? They know it's impossible, yet they say that's what you have to do. It's like it's a double bind. And you grow up. No one asks you who you really are and what you want to be. No one asks you to look inside yourself and say, what does your soul tell you? What do you want to do? What it is, what will fulfill your soul. No one says that. They say you got to keep the commandments. You got to do what God wants you to do. You got to be a good citizen, a good church member, a good father, a good son, a good whatever, a good daughter, etc. You got to do all these expectations, which is fair enough, of course. The world, the society works as well as it does because everyone fulfills a certain amount of expectations. So I get that. But beyond that, I would like to know what my soul wants. I mean, when I look in my soul. When I look at, now let's say the fantasies, when I look at the fantasies that I've had since childhood about my life, a lot of them are conflicting. A lot of them, I have the fantasy of, dying an old man with the children around my bedside and, the patriarch, I have that fantasy, right? But I've never acted on it because I didn't really actually want kids. That sounds like a subject for another torturous rant some other time. One of the fantasies I've always had is to be living alone, which is the opposite of the fantasy I just said. Live alone, I don't know, in an apartment somewhere in a condo in Hawaii where I grew up, or in a hotel somewhere around the world like Graham Greene, at Somerset Maugham, living in hotels, traveling the world, living in hotels. Alone, basically alone. And you go out and experience the world alone. I'm a loner kind of guy, basically. I feel most with myself when I am alone. Of course, I'm also lonely, so I want a relationship, and I want love at the same time. So it's a conflicting thing. But the urging of my soul, what is the urging of my soul? Is that the urging of my soul, to live alone? What else? Urging of my soul to understand the world. I have an intellectual yearning. I am a person more of the brain than of the body, and I want to learn things and understand the world. That's an urging. Okay, so whatever those urges of the soul are, whatever my soul is telling me, I want to listen to my soul and I want to follow it, and I want to be able to tell my soul, in the end, I did what you asked me to do, soul. So get off my back. 6, I want to do one great thing, the last great thing. Everyone does great things in their lives. There's some, you fall in love and you marry the girl or the guy, even though your dad says don't do it. Okay, so that's this act of taking your life in your hands and changing it forever. You marry someone, you fall in love, and you commit to that person. You're changing your life forever. It's completely different now. I did some things. I'll do a rant on that. I've done great things in my life, in the sense, not great in a public sense, but in a private sense, in the sense that they changed my life. These were life-changing events. There's probably 5 or 6 of them, maybe 7. I want to do one more. I came to Germany, for example. That changed my life. I went on a mission for the Mormon Church. That changed my life. I fell in love. I changed my life. I became a writer. That changed my. I wrote my first book. That changed my life. These were these great events, these seminal events that changed my life and made everything different. I need one last event like that. Maybe even doing this project, my very last life, is that life-changing event. Maybe it is. Or maybe it's something else. I've talked to my friends about it. They said, well, go to a monastery for a year. Walk from one end of the United States to the other. Those are all great things. But I'm not there yet. I don't know what it is, but I want that one last great thing. 7th, I want to be free. No one knows what freedom is. We all want to be free. It's strange that we have this, because there's been no freer society in the world ever. We are freer than ever. We have more privileges. We have more freedoms. We can do whatever we want. You're living as a peasant in the Middle Ages. If you were living as a peasant in the Middle Ages, you probably even had to ask your lord if you could get married and who you could get married. They would decide for you. You could not leave the church and believe something else, or you would be, you could be thrown in jail. You could be, not always, but you could not, if you, grew up in a landowner's land, farming wheat. You could not say, I want to be a basket maker. There's a market for baskets. I want to make. You couldn't do that. The Lord would tell you what to do. So now we have so many freedoms and privileges, maybe too much even. I mean, it's no society has ever been freer. Yet we all want to be free. I think part of that is because of these expectations. Growing up a Mormon, you have a lot of expectations. Growing up in a family, in any family, you have a lot of expectations. You have this expectation to succeed, yet also, to be a good family father or something. You have all these expectations, and you want to be free of them. Maybe you want to be free of your job, of your boss that you don't like. Maybe you want to be free of your relationship. Maybe you want to be free of legality. Maybe you want to take drugs that are illegal. Do something subversive or something. And whenever people do this thing to be free, they end up not being free. They end up, you take drugs out of a sense of, because I want to be free and I want to do things that my mom and dad are telling me not to do. And then become addicted to drugs, and your life is ruined. Okay, you're married and you want to be free of this marriage, so you have an affair, and then she gets pregnant and you get a divorce and your life is ruined. So is that freedom? What is freedom? I don't know, but I do feel that the expectations and the limits I put on myself, because I've accepted the expectations of society and of church and of mom and dad. I've accepted them and put them and installed them in my life. So they're mine now. They're not. It's not blaming society. It's me. I have to fight against. What do I have to be? Something. I have to be free of something. I don't know what that is. What is it to be free? I want to know that. I want to do that in the next 20 years. And 8th, I want to be happy. I'm happier now than I think probably than I ever was before, because of this change that took place when I was 60, when I said, I'm not going to whine about it. I'm going to do something with my life. I'm going to find this last life and use all the knowledge and insights I've gained to do it. I feel happier now, even though, financially and in my career, it's not a good time. There are some financial problems right now, and there are things that are not good, and I'm scared often of the future. But I feel more in charge, and I feel happier, and I want to be happy. I want to find out what that means to be happy consciously and figure it out and do it. Those are the things. Those are the 8 elements of my new life. The 8 things, the 8 requirements I have to fulfill. I've written them down. And I have to say, this search for purpose or meaning or a fulfillment, a fulfilled life, everyone does it or talks about it. And I've talked about it all my life. What is the meaning of life? It seems like a good, I'm supposed to be an intellectual, right? I'm a writer, so that's what we do. We figure out what is the meaning of life. I'm supposed to be asking these questions. But I think most of us never actually take it seriously. It's lip service. We're saying, what is the meaning of life? But then we say immediately, well, in the end, we cannot know. In the end, there is no answer to these questions. We are born to ask questions that will find no answer. That's being human. We look into the cold universe and there is no purpose. Life is just life, and then we die, and then that's it. Yet we search for purpose. I think that's bullshit. I think there is a purpose. I know, purpose is easily answered. My purpose is to write one great book before I die. If I may not be able to do it, but I'm going to try. Meaning, I think there is meaning to life. I think there is fulfillment in life. It's not seeing God or waking up after death in eternity. It's not one of these cosmic things. Maybe there is life after death. I don't know. It would be nice, but who knows? But to find fulfillment or meaning in life, it has to be within the parameters of what is possible. And defying death is not possible. Finding God is not possible. You can find religion, but you can't really. God will not talk to you. If there is a God, he will not talk to you. So you cannot really find him, except maybe after death or something. But that's within parameters of life. You have to accept that. So the answer to the question, what is the meaning of life? What is fulfillment? Is not some cosmic, metaphysical, magical fantasy thing where you find God. It has to be answered within our lives, in reality. By looking inside ourselves, by looking at society, by looking at what life is, by understanding it, or trying to understand it, or getting close to understanding. I think it's possible, and I want to do that. I want to find fulfillment, meaning, purpose in the next 20 years, and not just give it lip service and say, well, of course you can't find meaning, but the valiant, the majestic, the dignified thing to do, the heroic thing to do is to look for it just the same. No, I want to find it. I'm going to find it. I think it's possible, and I think everything else is just lame excuses. Okay, so that's the definition of my project, of what I'm doing. My very last life, the last 20 years of my life. Wish me luck. That's it, folks. And thanks for listening. Tune in again next week or tomorrow or whenever it is I do this again. Whatever, I don't know. If you're interested in the things that are really important to me, I write them in books and I put them on videos. Check out my books on Amazon.com or my YouTube channel or my Twitter and Facebook feeds or subscribe to my newsletter. That's kind of a lot now that I say it like that. Or any of the above, whatever. I hope I can contribute something to your life or to someone's life, anyone's life really, in some way. I appreciate your support and I wish you all the luck and success and happiness and fulfillment in your life. Take care till next time.